Hello, hello, welcome. Hypnosis. Is it real? Is it fake? Or is it surreal? Real, fake, surreal? Well, could be all of the above. I don't know if you hear an echo. I hear an echo, but no worries. Okay, welcome if you're watching live. I don't know. If you're watching the replay, excellent. This might just end up being the very first episode of the podcast. I'm seeing a little bit of delay when I speak, so let me just close some open apps and see if something might be eating some bandwidth. It's just take a moment here, just start clicking things closed. I'm thinking that's what's going on. Yeah, should Jeff have done that a few minutes before? Probably, and that's okay. So let's go back here. Yeah, there's still a bit of an echo. Hopefully you're not hearing that echo. Okay, hypnosis, real. Let me give you one of my first experiences. So I had seen YouTube. I've seen a hypnosis video on YouTube, and I went, oh, that's crazy. That's amazing. Is that real? Is that fake? And this is what I was personally thinking. And I had to investigate. My first instructor was in Lima, Peru. And I remember after the educational part, he's like, okay, we're going to do some hypnosis. So sit back, relax, close your eyes, and let's go. And I remember him speaking to me. I remember hearing everything. And I also remember thinking, I hear him speaking, but I'm not hypnotized. Of course, I didn't even understand what hypnotized was. I've heard these things like, are you in, are you under, which I've learned like none of that's actually true or could be. But in any case, at the end of it, he asked, so what did it feel like? I'm like, well, I don't know that it worked. I'm not so sure that it actually worked. And he said, do you remember the position you were in just a moment ago? I'm like, well, yeah, I was slumped over and my head was kind of, my chest was on my knees. And he said, is that a comfortable position? Try that now. And I put my chest down on top of my legs. I'm like, no, it's kind of restraining on the breath. And he said, so you wouldn't want to stay in that position for any length of time? I'm like, not really. That's kind of uncomfortable. He said, how long do you think we just did some hypnosis, right? You were listening. Yeah. How long do you think that was? I'm like, I don't know, like 15 minutes maybe. He's like, look at the clock. I'm like, what? So it was, I don't remember exactly now, but it was somewhere between 45 minutes and an hour. It was a good amount of time. And I'm like, no way. So I was in this uncomfortable, what I imagine is uncomfortable position for all that time. So it felt like time kind of shrunk. My whole idea of what time was kind of changed. And I'm like, that's crazy. So then I started thinking, well, maybe I was in this thing called hypnosis. Some say it's a state, some say it's not. I don't need to argue the point, but something happened. Something was interesting. All right. That was the first instructor. Let's jump out. It wasn't the second instructor. It was the third training. Oh, no, the second one. So the second one I did was in Salt Lake City. The first one was Luis Zalvalos in Lima, Peru. The second one was Don Spencer at the time we met in Salt Lake City, Utah. I can't remember where he actually lives, but that's where the training was. In the original class, I remember he was doing the teaching, and I kind of, leaned over to the guy next to me, and I said, I don't think I should be here. He's like, well, why? Because this was a certification class. I said, because I bite my fingernails, man. You can't be a hypnotist and bite your fingernails. I mean, that's incongruent. He's like, chill. We'll take care of that tonight at dinner. I'm like, what? So that evening, after that first class, I think it was 3 days, but that evening we walked across the street to the restaurant, and he's like, the fingernail biting, you want to do that now? I'm like, it'll take 15, 20 minutes before they bring the food out. I'm like, okay. So next thing I knew, I'm lying on the floor in the middle of a restaurant. I don't know how many tables, 20 tables in the place. It wasn't small. It was carpeted floor, but I'm lying on the floor. I remember that part. I remember my eyes were closed, or he said, close your eyes. And I also remember getting back up and having dinner and whatever. And the next day we're in class. He's like, well, how do you feel? I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, remember, we worked on biting the fingernails. I'm like, oh, I haven't touched them. He's like, cool. Nice job. That hypnotist was named Enda O'Shea. He was a guy from Ireland. We're still friends to this day. And that training was back in 2012, I believe. I need to check that. Maybe it was 13. I think it was 12. But that was my experience. So my first experience, where was I really hypnotized? The second experience, I'm on the floor. I'm no longer biting my nails. I don't even remember what he said to me, but I was obviously in an altered state, maybe. I don't know. Now the third experience. I was in another class. This was in Las Vegas. The trainer was Justin Trans, spelled Tranz. He was trying to be creative with the word trance, Trance, and he just put the Z on the end. And anyway, during that class, I remember it was it was just 3 of us, actually. Very small, very intensive class. And it was to kind of cover a little bit of street hypnosis, therapy hypnosis. But I remember him having us stand up, and he started speaking to us. He said, and I'm standing this time, right? He said, close your eyes, and I want you to imagine this, imagine that. And he said, and then I remember this was just a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. It was really quick. But then I remember him challenging me with a question. He said, Jeff, try to open your eyes. Now, my eyes were closed, and I tried to open my eyes. My eyes didn't open. So then I'm thinking, this is weird. This is very weird. And I thought, you're a strong guy, Jeff. Just put some more effort in it. So I'm, and I feel my eyebrows kind of tugging, right? Putting more effort in. And then I thought, it's still not working. Then I thought, why don't you put some effort in, like when you're at the gym and you do deadlifts? I'm like, okay, I know how to do that. So I went, and I'm really tugging at the eyebrows, and my eyes are not opening. Now I remember feeling the sense of fear, anxiousness. I'm looking at the monitor. I'm hoping my lips are in line with the voice because of the echo. But anyway, and I remember him challenging me, and I could not open my eyes. And I'm getting scared. Now, I'm not an anxious guy. I'm pretty chill, relaxed. But I was feeling really stressed. And then that stress started to move over toward a little bit panicky. Like, what if I can't open my eyes? Oh, it says my connection's a little unstable. Uh-oh. So what do we do when your connection's unstable? Well, I guess we can try to click over to another internet. Okay, I'm gonna do this. I may drop out for a few seconds, but let's see what happens, because I don't like this unstable idea from my internet. Again, I may drop out for a few seconds, but it should be right back. Oh, I think the problem is it's connecting to somewhere where I'm not. That's weird. Okay, let's see here. We can find another open connection. There should be plenty. Yes, it connected me to the wrong connection. I may drop out. Oh my gosh. And it still says unstable. What's up with that? Okay, that little thing went away. Let's try it out. In any case, I was trying to open my eyes. I couldn't open my eyes. And then he said, I'm kind of panicking there. He said, I'm just going to pop you on the head, on the forehead, and your eyes will open. And he went, boop, and my eyes popped open. Like, That was scary. It was anxious inducing. It was panic inducing almost. It wasn't a panic attack, but I'm thinking, oh, so am I about to have one of these things? My clients told me about it. I don't know that I ever had one, but I think I might be about to, um, or I've heard about those things. But you know what? That was an expensive training, by the way. It was quite expensive, but I remember talking to a friend after and saying, that was the most valuable training that I probably ever have. And I felt something that I never felt in my life before that moment. I felt the only way I can describe as a signal from the conscious mind and a signal from the subconscious mind battling it out like tug of war and the subconscious winning. So the one signal was I want to open my eyes. I'm going to open my eyes and feeling the eyebrows moving up and down. That was a conscious effort. In the same way that if I say, go ahead right now, and I say, close your hand, and you close it. Then I say, open your hand, you open it. That's a conscious thought, a signal from your brain to your hand to do the action, right? So that was the same conscious signal from my brain to open my eyes. Now, tug of war, right? At the very same moment in time, my subconscious mind was sending a signal, eyes locked, closed. You cannot open your eyes. Your eyelids are locked shut. And this was happening because of what he was saying to me. Your eyes are locked. Feel it. And I remember him being pretty strong. He's a big dude. And the power in his voice, not exactly like Jocko Willink, but I think the same kind of the same power in his voice was definitely there. Different guys for sure. But those words were penetrating, getting to my subconscious mind, and they were having a powerful effect. How do I know? Because I couldn't open my eyes. And I was really trying to open my eyes. And you might think, oh, the word was try or whatever. No, I was putting in the real effort, or as the Aussies say, give it a go, mate. I was putting in the effort, like I was deadlifting. I was imagining deadlifting. I like doing hard things, and I could not open them. So in that moment, I now understood what hypnosis was. But now many years have gone by. That was back 2013, the one with Justin as a trainer. But now I've come to realize hypnosis is not whether your eyes are open or closed. It's not being under. What it is, let me simplify it for you. It's simply suggestion, reception at the subconscious level. So let's think about the pandemic, right? During the pandemic, I recall seeing people driving around in their car by themselves with a mask on. And I'm thinking, that's odd. I obviously was not doing that in my own car by myself. And I thought, that's odd. But now I understand that you could classify that with hypnosis. Did anybody actually say you're going under, you're hypnotized, counting down? No. But if you understand the basic definition, suggestion, reception, somebody suggested that you wear a mask all the time. The person received it all the time, maybe not logically, but it went in as all the time. And that's the result, right? Let's put that example aside and let's use a completely different example. I ask this question a lot to people that have met me, but have you ever watched a movie, fictional, let's call fictional as in fake, created, right? Movie that had a sad scene. I'm thinking Marley and Me, like the death of a dog. I'm getting the movie right, but a sad scene in a movie, okay? And then watching that movie, which is not real, it's just a movie, you felt genuine sadness, meaning glassing up of the eyes or maybe even a tear, or felt that choked up feeling. Has that ever happened to you? I think most of you, I don't know, but has that ever happened to you? If it has, that's hypnosis. Yeah, but Jeff, I was watching a movie. My eyes were wide open. I never closed them, maybe to blink, but that's all. Exactly. Hypnosis does not require the eyes closed. Yeah, but nobody counted down or hypnotized me. Oh, but didn't they fascinate you and draw your attention in to watch the movie and not sit and play on your phone? Yeah. So they had your focused attention. If it's a good movie, right? You're going to be really focused if they're using the right actors and dialogue and scenery and music and all these things. It pulls you in, it narrows your focus. So I would say they had very heightened awareness. And when you're watching a movie, there's a term we like to use. It's called suspension of disbelief. So it means you're not necessarily, you're not saying I believe, you're just not believing, you're not disbelieving, and therefore it feels and becomes real, right? So in my definition, suggestion reception, the movie was suggesting to you that something sad just happened. The movie was suggesting to you, in this case, that a dog is dying or died. You accepted this idea as real, or at least you suspended the idea of it not being real for a time. During that time, the idea landed on your subconscious. How do we know it landed on the subconscious? Because it produced a result called emotion. Now, if it was logical, you would have said something like, that is a sad scene. Maybe I should probably make a tear. I should probably close my hand, right? That is conscious, but that's not what happened. The movie suggested, you received reception. You then automatically felt an emotion, and emotions are triggered at a subconscious level, unless you're a really good actor or actress, right? But even then, I'm not an actor, but my understanding is that they will pull up a really sad memory in order to trigger that emotion, unless they're just fully acting, right? They'll use that method acting where they really get into the role, where it becomes real for them. So simple. I know I'm repeating a little bit, but I want to drive this home. I know it's easy to watch a video and then forget what you learned and go on with your life, but I want you to get this. Suggestion reception. So if you hear someone say this, that, they make a statement. If you get emotional, which happens a lot with the news media, right? If you get emotional based on what you just heard, there's a strong likelihood that idea, suggestion, is going to reach the subconscious level. So there are multiple ways to get an idea into the subconscious. Fear, or actually any strong emotion, can bring that in. Here's a silly example. And I apologize in advance to the people I'm going to pull into this imaginative example. But let's just say you're a guy and you're in New Orleans, however they say that, for Mardi Gras, right? People are drunk. And if you know anything about Mardi Gras, there's a lot of ladies lifting up to the shirts, or at least there used to be when I was in college. And just imagine that the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders, well, if you're a straight male, as I am, they're really good looking ladies. All right. But if you're a normal guy that likes women, and you see super good looking ladies, a big pack of them walking your way, and they go, woo, and all at the same time, this didn't happen. This is just an example. And they all go, woohoo, Mardi Gras. And they all lift their shirts up. Every guy within line of sight is going to be immediately, instantly in a hypnotic state. You're going to see them all go and just kind of freeze for a moment in that, bug-eyed, deer in the headlights type of thing. Now, at that moment, whatever they say, it's not all, but a percentage of the guys, it could be a high percent, might respond, right? So if they say, yell whatever, there's a good chance that those guys will yell whatever they say, right? because there's something happened. Now that wasn't suggestion yet, but so we're talking about the trigger, or what's called the induction, or like what pulls someone into that trance state. So the deer, when it sees the headlights crossing the street, that's a trance inducer. A loud explosion going off. I think military police, I don't know, but they call it shock and awe, where they set off a super loud, doesn't actually break things, but it's a loud explosive sound, and people tend to freeze. And in that moment, they might yell freeze, and the people are more likely to freeze because of that loud sound. There's repetition. If you hang out with people that are constantly talking about, this is bad, she's bad, he's bad, and you hear the same concept, the same line of thought over and over, that can get to your subconscious via repetition. So repetition is a way to the subconscious, right? That's one way to learn, like repeating something. Another one is strong emotion, can be fear, but can also be cheer, or it can also be, right? It can be fear, it can be dread, it can be shame, it can be guilt, it can be any strong emotion is basically opening the door to the subconscious mind. So realize that you are and have been programmed. If you think about it, why do you believe what you believe? How did it get there? Now you can say, well, I had an experience, or everybody knows that. I remember seeing a video on YouTube. The guy's name was Warren. I can't remember if Warren is his first or last name. You may have seen it. But I think that's the video that launched his YouTube fame, because he's got a lot of subscribers now. But in that video, he's speaking to a student in his class. They did not show the student, but the topic was J.K. Rowling. And I don't remember the exact words. You can look it up. It's an awesome video. But the kid says something like, oh, J.K. Rowling, she's transphobic, something along those lines. He makes a statement. And the teacher's like, okay, right? He's not arguing. He's just basically saying, like, where did you learn that? How do you know that? He's like, well, everybody knows that. It's like, okay, tell me more. He's like, well, it's all over online. He says, can you show, there's proof online or something. Can you show me a clip? Go now and show me the clip. Anyway, he went digging through the post, and he found it was a clip, or just Instagram or X or some post, right? And the teacher said, read that. And he read it, and he's like, okay, reading that, is there any proof in there that she actually meets that label? And the discussion, if you watch it, I think you may or may not agree, but the discussion is like, no, there's no proof there. It's a comment. It's someone saying that, many people jumping on and saying the same thing, repetition. And if you're only hearing this same thing, like you're in a bubble and that's all you hear, well, it's going to become very real. So for that kid, it was real. Watch the video, watch how it ends. It's super interesting. Even if whatever you agree or disagree about JK, I don't think that's not my position here. But there is something about critical thinking, or learning to think on your own, and understanding how ideas, beliefs get into our brains. And once an idea is in your brain, it feels real, and you're likely to act upon it as if it was real, therefore have an experience that you're like, well, there it is. And then which makes the belief stronger. And then you have an experience, and you have this continuation where the belief gets more and more solid. I think it was Tony Robbins' first book, I believe, Unlimited Power. It could have been the next one, Awaken the Giant Within. But he has this little drawing in there where he has a table, and he's using it to create metaphor of what is a belief. And the tabletop, I'm pointing to a tabletop. The tabletop represents the belief. The legs of the table represent references. I read this, I experienced this, references that support the belief. If you have a table with one leg, that's a wobbly table. It's probably not standing right now, right? If you have two legs, it's a little more stable. If you have three legs, it's a lot more stable. If you have four legs, more stable. Now imagine a table with 8 legs, 10 legs, 20 legs. That's a really stable table. Yeah, does that rhyme? Oh, I like rhymes. I love rhymes. Anyway, it's a stable table, right? So that's a solid belief. But you got to find out, how did I get that belief? Are those references real? And you start to go back and look at each leg and say, how did I come to believe that? Oh, I read it on X. Does that make it true? No. Okay, we can take that leg off. I heard it on the news. Well, when I was a kid, if you heard it on the news, it was probably true. So I might leave that leg. That's many years ago, right? But if you hear it on the news today, like, no, that doesn't, on the news doesn't mean truth. It means it could be true. It could be an opinion, probably is. But you don't know. It's a rabbit hole to kind of look down, and you probably need to watch the opposite or a different channel, and you'll hear literally the opposite thing about the same event. Or, one will say, this is what a microphone looks like. And the other will say, no, that is what a microphone looked like. No, that is what a microphone looks like. No, that is what a microphone looks like, right? So you're getting a completely different perspective. So what I want you to know about hypnosis is it real? In my perspective, based on the definition that I'm giving you, 100%. Suggestion, reception, internalization, action, right? The more you hear something, the more it gets into your beliefs. Now, what about the stage shows, right? Where you see people doing silly things. I used to do shows. I haven't in 3 years, I think, but it's been a while. When I did shows, I would have people who could not remember their name, who believed their name was something different, like a big dude believing his name is Tinkerbell, which is not really nice for a big. I did it to an electrician once. He's a straight male, and his friends really gave him some jabs after that in terms of Tinkerbell. It's a big burly guy, right? And I've had other people that I changed their name to Yoda or some other silly name. Was it real? Well, you could say no. However, for me, it was real because I did it once where I had everyone, there was 16 people on the stage, and I had them all forget their name. And they all, what's your name? They're all completely confused looking. However, after that show, I went up to them and I said, please tell me, what was your internal experience during that time when you could not remember your name? And it was different. It wasn't the same. So you have a bell curve, and you have people saying, man, I could not remember my name. I was so upset. You saw the tears running down the face. I thought my mom was going to kill me. She gave me that name and I couldn't remember it. And she was genuinely upset. Looked like a waterfall going down her face. Then another, kind of go the opposite extreme, say, I knew that wasn't real. I knew that I could remember my name, but I just couldn't get myself to say I remember, and I just couldn't get myself to say my name. They said it was almost like I didn't want to. I'm like, that's very different, right, than truly believing it. Then you have the entire spectrum in between. Something like, I couldn't remember my name, but I knew if I just put some more effort in, I knew it was right there. I just was like blocked, like I couldn't read it, but I knew it was written right there. And I just couldn't access that memory. You've had that before. You're trying to remember something. You're like, I know that person's name. I know it, I know it, I know it, but you just can't, you're not accessing it right there, but then it pops back later. So some have that experience. But the point is, in that moment, they all had an experience. Now, is that always all? No. Sometimes I have 8 people sitting there and only 3 people have a what I would consider genuine experience. There's a video that I posted called Stuck at Christmas. Is it a short? I can't remember. But anyway, there's a video that I posted called Stuck at Christmas. And it's a clip of a show where the guy's hand is on his head. And I said, your hand is now stuck to your head. Try to remove it. And he's doing this. Then I offer him real money. I started with $1 because I wanted to test it to see if he even flinched with $1 or nothing. And then I pulled out a 10. And I gradually scaled it up because if he was just trying to hustle me or faking, when we got to 100, he would probably grab it, unless he was a really good hustler. But at $100, he still could not release his hand. Now that's real money, and he literally could have taken it and he would have kept it, right? I'm right there in front of him, inches away. So then I scaled it up again and again and again, and I believe the total was $600. 600 US dollars, and he couldn't take it. After the show, I spoke to them, and he said it was the weirdest thing. I could not remove the hand to save the life. What was actually happening in the moment? There, remember the eyes? There were 2 signals at the same time. Signal 1 is, and I want that money. The guy was out of work and he really needed the money, but he could not, he believed he couldn't remove his hand. There was another signal, which was my voice getting into his subconscious that said, your hand is stuck. Impossible. And I kind of yelled at, impossible to remove. That suggestion was stronger than I want that money. And therefore, that was his subjective reality. Did it work? Yeah. So what's the point here? Hypnosis, is it real or fake? Well, if you believe it's fake, I guess it could be, right? I'm not here to change your beliefs. I'm just giving you more information. You can do your own research. This is my personal experience over all these years. I'm still blown away by some of the things that happened in the stage shows, in street hypnosis. And of course, now mostly I'm doing therapy, hypnotherapy and coaching. And the things that happen because of suggestion and it becoming like so solid as a belief and become permanent still blow my mind. When someone comes to me with a trauma, I'm using the word a little loosely, maybe not diagnosed trauma. It can be. But basically, if they reflect back to a memory and they think about it, they replay it, it still hurts. It's shame or guilt, sadness, anger, resentment, feeling of betrayal, whatever it was, it still has sting, agitation. And that's genuine. They really don't want to think about it because it might trigger them. So I trigger it just for a few minutes, just to be sure that it's triggered. It might even be 1 or 2 minutes of that. Then we cut the wire and we rewire it. It never bothers them again. Is it real? Yeah. Has it ever reverted? Not to my knowledge. It's permanent. And I test it again a few days later. It does not trigger ever again. To me, that's real magic. To me, you can call it hypnosis. You can call it whatever you want. And it's just more than saying, your hand is stuck. It's much more than that. There's a lot more processes going in. But the point is, I did not believe hypnosis was real. And still, I'm really surprised. Like, is that really happening? In every show, I felt that way. Like, this is crazy. This is so nuts. And it still blows my mind, right? So for me, it's real. It exists. Does it exist as this thing like you're getting sleepy, and mind control? No, I don't know that it can. But is that like the most popular way that people experience it? No. But you experience it every day. Have you ever been looking at your phone and scrolling and thinking, oh, I should probably go do that other thing, wash the dishes, do the laundry, go to work, do whatever. And then you just keep going what they call doom scrolling. That's a trance. You can actually feel the subconscious pulling you into that, even though your conscious is saying, I should probably do that. And your subconscious, if you continue to doom scroll, it's winning. And then when you finally break that trance, now your subconscious got away, right? I think we're gonna wrap it up here. Is it real? Is it fake? Or is it surreal, meaning it feels real? Fascinating topics. So fascinating. Anyway, I want you to always remember this. Remember this. I believe in you. And I truly believe that you can do anything you set your mind to. You've got this. Mindset Bliss. MindsetBliss.com. All right. Take care. And maybe we'll see you on the next live.